tonight is Terry Henry. He's going to be giving his icebreaker speech. His icebreaker speech is entitled, My Life Beyond the Scenes, Yet in Plain Sight. Terry joined Toastmasters in May of this year. He holds a bachelor's degree in finance from the University of South Florida and an MBA from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. As a former airline pilot with over 17,000 flight hours, I think that's pretty colossal, his travels have taken him to 66 countries to date. Currently, Terry is the controlling partner at Pinnacle Business Solutions Group. He works with corporate executives and senior leadership teams in developing and deploying performance improvement and corporate excellence within an organization's culture. Please give a warm welcome to Terry Henry.
Thank you for that colossal introduction. Have you ever been to a party or social event and ultimately that question comes up? So tell me, what do you do? It's a question that people use because they think it's an easy way to break the ice. I would like for all of you to take a moment and think back to your very first job. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, I would like for you to join me on a short journey of my life behind the scenes, yet in plain view. In the 1960s, living in Southern California, I was the youngest of the Fort Henry boys. It's maybe kind of tough to see. Living in Southern California, my dad was an aerospace engineer for NASA, and my mom ran a ballet school. I do know the 5 positions of a plie, but that will not get out of this room. Living in San Diego and working for NASA, we quickly learned that the space program was going to take off. We had to move from San Diego north up near Vandenberg Air Force Base. We moved to a small town called Solvang, California. It was a Danish town off of Highway 101. Growing up there was really awesome. We would ride to the beach in a 1924 Ford Model T coupe. Now imagine 4 boys going to the beach, surfboards, coolers, everything you would need for the beach, going down Highway 101. We would fight over who would sit in the rumble seat. And if you didn't get the rumble seat, you had to ride on the running board on the side. This was back in the days before they had child seats. Maybe that's the reason I'm not quite with it. But surfing, bonfires, barbecues was how I spent a good portion of my life. And all good things must come to an end when NASA calls. Very quickly, we went from developing rockets to going to Vandenberg Air Force Base and firing off rockets to the moon program. We moved to San Jose, California, Silicon Valley. There, my dad worked on the guidance systems because taking a colossal Saturn V rocket from Earth to the moon and back, they had to work on the guidance, and Silicon Valley was the place for this. But you know, no sooner did we get settled in Silicon Valley than NASA called again. This time, Huntsville, Alabama, Redstone Arsenal. The Redstone Arsenal is where NASA develops and tests the rocket engines. So we were off to Huntsville. But our dad did something really cool. He got involved in the ownership of a radio station. And that is where I got my first job. I was a radio station disc jockey. Now, don't think of some big fancy radio station. It was easy listening. So think of Frank Sinatra, Doris Day, Lawrence Welk. I really enjoyed that music. That went over real good. But I was only 10 years old. Now, how many fifth graders do you know would be running a radio station? I only had to cue the mic twice an hour. Once at the top of the hour to give the time and temperature and station ID, and once at the bottom of the hour to give time and temperature. So imagine you're driving down the road, listening to the chairman of the board singing one of his colossal songs. And at 4:28 to 4:32, you heard something like, "It's 32 degrees and 426, 98.9 on your radio dial." And then right back to Dean Martin. Now, how many fifth graders would have believed me if I went in and said, I got a job at a radio station, and I'm a radio station disc jockey. That was my life behind the scenes, yet in plain view. But when you're dealing with NASA, all good things must come to an end. We were called again to Cocoa Beach, Florida. Now imagine Cocoa Beach, Florida, to a tennis playing surfer. This place was paradise. When I started school there, I did really, really well. I was a B student. Barbecues, beach blankets, bonfires, boogie boards. Oh yeah, bikinis. Solid student. Very, very good. Played very well. Enjoyed a lot of launches, which I can tell you about in later speeches, and launch parties. But life was utopia living in Cocoa Beach during the Apollo program. I would hang out at the beach, learn to drive a car on the beach. Everything was beach. Either I was playing tennis or I was at the beach. So my first job was something like this. WRSA Decatur, serving all of North Alabama, with studios overlooking Huntsville, Decatur, and the beautiful Tennessee Valley. That was my first job in my life, behind the scenes, yet in plain view.